it? Yes! I love the PlayStation 3. For me, it's probably my favourite games console of all time. I devoured every piece of available information, reading all the magazines, watching boring press conferences about statistics and learning CEOs and CFOs' names, and most importantly, I was there for the weird boomerang controller that they backtracked on and just ended up gutting a PS2 DualShock and sticking wonky motion controls inside called Sixaxis. Do you remember when vibration wasn't the future? It just feels like a cheap toy. But while the PS3 didn't have the greatest start, it had a high price point, a lack of games, poor quality third-party ports, I still really enjoyed all of it. Things improved towards the end, obviously, and the exclusive games got better and better, but today, I'm going to look at the beginning. To be specific, the US launch lineup of games. And so, with the PlayStation 5 knocking on the door, I think it's high time we went back through these, played each of them, and just saw how they held up today. So I'm not going to be touching the Sixaxis controls as it boasts on the top of the controller because, and I can't stress this enough, I'm not a lunatic. So, are we ready? And let's go. Yes, 2006, a time when practically every warfare-based video game took place in World War II. Blazing Angels Squadrons of World War II is no exception then, placing you in the fetching flight cap of Captain, a man with no other name who presumably knows how to fly a plane and yet spends most of the opening hour of the game being taught by other characters how to fly a plane. To be fair though, they probably took one look at my flying ability and called a very sensible audible. Did I try to shoot the military base? I did. Did I attempt to land on a boat? Yep. Did I terrorize this village with no roads?
That's it, Captain. You're doing just fine.
I did that too. The game averaged just 67% on Metacritic, with outlets decrying the woeful Sixaxis option and labeling it the definitive average experience. Good stuff.
Have a little fun while we're at it.
From one World War II military game to another, it's the Treyarch-developed Call of Duty 3. We in Europe had to put up with the PS2 version until the PS3 launched at the end of March 2007, so I genuinely couldn't wait to see the developer's vision in crisp HD quality. Worth the wait. But it wasn't all smoke grenades and crouching under wooden beams to access vital munitions. We were also treated to the loudest looking yet quietest sounding superior officer ever featured in a Call of Duty game. What? Set in the Western Front of World War II, you play through the perspective of an American, British, Canadian or Polish soldier in the single-player campaign, and you know what? It's alright. I stuck it on easy and terrorised the German opposition, but for a launch game you could do much worse, and it landed itself 80% on Metacritic as a result. I'm gonna say it. This game is boring as hell. Now, admittedly, I only played it for an hour and a half, but outside of capturing footage, this is actually my second attempt at starting this game. But anyway, I digress. Most of you will probably remember this game from E3 2006, where it was described as being based on famous battles which actually took place in ancient Japan, before encountering a giant enemy crab where you can attack its weak spot for massive damage.
So here's this giant enemy crab.
I remember that from history class. Switching between 4 characters, players can attack enemies with a lock-on system that could be described as non-existent. The historical Japanese game earned a groan-inducing 55% on Metacritic. It's one PS3 launch game nobody should consider for even a second. Who are we to disagree? Oh yeah, here we go, sports time! I've never played an American football game before. Hell, I've never watched American football either, but I'm going to give this everything I've got. Selecting the San Francisco 69ers, I was ready for sports war. Admittedly, I did think it adorable that my teammates were so excited to watch each other come out onto the field, but the day fireworks were a bit much for me. Things didn't go my way. My opponents kept running past me and play would stop every few seconds to show me bar graphs and statistics about how I could better be spending my time. I may have been losing, but at least I left with my dignity. 76% on Metacritic. Oh yes, here we go, look! Captain America and Spidey are all ready to go! And what a CG intro, so much action, Thor's wielding Stormbreaker, Logan's looking short, it's perfect! Bit of whiplash from cutting to that gameplay, but you can't win them all. An action RPG, the strength of Ultimate Alliance's appeal lies squarely with its license. It's fun enough running around with an interchangeable roster of recognizable Marvel heroes, but when you strip those away, you're just opening doors and punching bad guys over and over again. It's cool to have Deadpool mouth off next to Spider-Man, and if you've got any friends, then you can play in local co-op. It earned 78% on Metacritic, with IGN calling it a keeper. Aww. Mobile Suit Gundam, robots in disguise. I'm no fan of Gundam personally, and it's not because I think it's bad, it's just that giant robots don't do anything for me unless they're in 100-foot robot golf.
100-foot robot golf!
How can you not want to play this? Released as Mobile Suit Gundam Crossfire in North America, if you want to get serious about this, the game takes place entirely within dusty, bland environments and awkwardly has you hack and shoot at giant enemy bots during the 1-year war. I can't say I enjoyed my brief time with it, even though you get a cool laser sword and can stamp on little human tanks.
What the hell?
And the critics agreed, with the game achieving the lowest score of all the launch titles with just 33% on Metacritic. GameStyle put it best when they said, in the end, it proves too bland and generic for mech enthusiasts and just a poor game for the uninitiated. Oh yeah, here we go, sports time! I've never played an NBA game before. Hell, I've never watched NBA either, but I'm going to give this everything I've got. As luck would have it, the 69ers are in this game too, but now they've moved to Philly for some reason. After witnessing a giant flaming basketball blow up a stadium, it was game time, and I even allowed myself a peek at the controls. The problem was, every time I took a shot, it bounced off the rim. Every single time.
Handed up by Howard. Protecting the ball is first down.
Jason Terry is my arch rival. With the end of the first quarter drawing ever nearer, it looked like I was going to lose, so I pulled out the oldest trick in the book. Idiots. 80% on Metacritic. Oh yeah, here we go, sports time! I've never played an NHL game before. Hell, I've never watched NHL either, but I'm going to give this everything I've got. No 69ers in this game, which is a huge shame, but who doesn't love a penguin? Look at the size of him. He's massive, he looks like a Pokemon. Now, hockey I like. It's violent, it's fast, and as a video game I felt there was almost no barrier to entry whatsoever. I even managed to score a puck down and dunk a goalie hoop, or whatever the terminology is. NHL 2K7 has the scariest looking players and coaches in any sports game ever, and it got 79% on Metacritic as a result. Now this is a game that I love. Resistance Fall of Man was Insomniac Games' first proper foray into more mature territory. It saw you playing as Nathan Hale, an American called in to fight off a mysterious and horrifying force called the Chimera after they swept across Europe in the 50s. Having captured Europe, the Chimera are invading the UK, with much of the game taking place in various recognisable spots around England. Look at that road sign! Look, it's York City Gate! Wow, I loved that dried riverbed! It's an incredibly competent shooter with cool weapons, a unique setting, and a gripping narrative. Critics liked it too, with the game receiving 86% on Metacritic. As GamePro put it, it's easily the best PS3 game available on launch day and a highly playable action game that will satisfy even the most demanding FPS junkies. It's Ridge Racer!
Remember that one?
The only driving game featured in the US PS3 launch lineup, Ridge Racer 7 is unique for being the last numbered entry in the series. That's right. Since 2006, there have been a few spin-offs and standalone releases, but Namco have never released a full sequel. And why is that? I don't actually know. It reviewed favorably, averaging 78% on Metacritic, and it lets you go really, really fast. It boasts online and offline modes, those sick HD graphics, and over 20 courses and 40 vehicles. It's not gonna, win any awards. Oh, hang on. It did. The IGN Award for Best PlayStation 3 Racing Game of 2006. Excuse me? Was it not one of just 2 PS3 racing games in 2006? That's like me awarding myself the IGN Award for Best Person at sitting on this sofa in this shot. Madness. Oh yeah, here we go, sports time! I've played golf games before. How can you not want to play? But this is a lot more straight-laced. I initially started creating Ben Golf to look like me, but then discovered the randomize button, and oh dear, he's perfect. It took me longer than I'd care to admit to work out how to actually swing my club, but I soon got the hang of it.
This isn't looking too good.
I soon got the hang of it. I soon got the hang of it? But I soon got the hang of it. Putting turned out to be really hard too, and Ben Golf didn't always take it very well. I don't feel safe. But the numbers don't lie, and they spell a resounding victory for this guy, 81% on Metacritic. Ah, this is more like it. I love a bit of the radical cool skater boy Birdman. Don't we all? I must admit I fell off the Tony Hawk wagon after the PS1 titles, but the idea of being good at a skateboarding game while possessing no real-life coordination or skill is very alluring. One immediate point against the game, however, is the limited character creation suite. I couldn't make anything resembling the monster I had in my head, and that's a shame. Good socks though. Featuring a large town with all the usual facets and levels found in Tony Hawk games, I quickly discovered that my nostalgia for the PS1 games wasn't rooted in being good at them, and so I fell off my board again and again and again. But this was my rubbish created skater. What about bona fide professional Lindsay Adams Hawkins? Oh god, I'm so sorry. So I'm bad, but the game is good, attaining 76% on Metacritic. Finally, we have Untold Legends Dark Kingdom, a game I hastily bought after playing Oblivion on a friend's Xbox 360 and in a desperate attempt to emulate its incredible fantasy world. I was unsuccessful. This hack-and-slash RPG flagrantly copied Diablo's homework. Well, as much as one can copy homework if you don't have any eyes. You get to choose between 3 classes, Warrior, Scout, and Mage, and each come with their own abilities and colour palettes. Oh, exciting. There's some nonsense fantasy story about legends of an untold nature and dark magic threatening the kingdom. It's all in the name, really. But you'll mainly be pressing the same buttons over and over again and occasionally getting a new shirt. It does bring us this incredible display of choreography, though. Maybe the 58% on Metacritic is a bit harsh. And there you are, every single PS3 launch lineup from the US reviewed, sort of, in 2020. Were there any in there that you particularly liked when the PS3 launched in 2006? Let us know in the comments below, and if you'd do me a personal favour, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and share this video around. Maybe even subscribe. Madness, I know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all very soon, and take care of yourselves. Bye!